I know I'm looking very vulnerable right now and I only got a few minutes, but I just got out of worship and the Father wants me to share this revelation. You ever notice in almost every religion, worship is very sacred, it's intentional, it's personal, it's very weighty. But somewhere down the line, Christianity, it changed, it shifted. We've turned worship into a genre and not a sacrifice. We've made it about the sound instead of the surrender, about leading people instead of leading ourselves. And here's the hard truth: it no longer reaches up, it only reaches out. It only reaches out to the crowd. And it's supposed to reach up to heaven. When in the Bible, when they burnt and sacrificed for worship, the fragrance, it seeped up into heaven and pleased God. Now, let me just teach this for a second. The word worship in Hebrew is shakah. It literally means to bow down. It means to lay flat, to humble yourself. And in Greek, it's proskuneo. It means to kiss toward, to show affection, to show adoration. So real worship is not music, it's movement. It's a response to who God is. Music is just the vehicle, but the destination is surrenderance. Can you write that down? Music is just the vehicle, but the destination is surrender. If you want to know what you really worship, look at what gets your attention. Look at what gets your affection. Look at what you always put down to go after. That's your altar. Worship is what you're willing to rearrange your life for. That's why Jesus said in John 4, verse 24, true worshipers will worship the Father in spirit and in truth. True worshipers will worship the Father in spirit and in truth. Spirit means authentic connection. Truth means accurate understanding. In other words, worship isn't about hype. Mm-mm. It's about honesty. It's about being vulnerable unto the Father, laying down your flesh and picking up worship and picking up surrenderance. Now, what went wrong, guys? Somewhere along the way, we have confused the platform with the presence. We have started performing instead of ministering to God. We have traded the altar for a stage. We learned to move a crowd, but forgot how to move God. We became experts at leading worship sets, but amateurs at living worship lives. And here's the thing, here's the danger. When there is no private altar, the public sound loses its fragrance, because fragrance only comes from something that has been crushed. Oil only comes from something that has been crushed. So, what are you crushing? In the Old Testament, before a priest could minister to the people, before the priest ministered, he had to first minister to the Lord. What has changed? The priest had washed, he sacrificed, he anointed himself. It was so sacred. Then he went before God after all of that, after he anointed himself, after he sacrificed, after he washed and cleansed himself. The pattern was always private altar and then public offering. If we're not burning in private, we can't release a fragrance in public. If we are not burning in private, we can't release a fragrance in public. Do you guys hear me? Let's make it plain. Worship isn't the song. It isn't about the song that you sing on Sunday. It's the life that you live on Monday. When you forgive instead of fight, that's worship. When you obey, even when it's inconvenient, that's worship. When you shut the door and talk to God with no audience, that's worship. When you give when no one else is clapping, that's worship. That's what Romans 12, verse 1 means when it says, present your bodies as a living sacrifice. This is your responsible act of worship, to present yourself as a living sacrifice to God. Worship isn't about how good you sound. Yes, I know we want to hear people that sound good, but it's about how surrendered you are, because we have people up there that's skilled and that's gifted, but they are not surrendered. God is restoring the fragrance back on the altar. So how do we get back to this? How do we make worship sacred again? Number one, build your private altar. Don't just rehearse songs, rehearse surrender. Ask yourself, did I meet God before I met the crowd? Number two, detox the stage. The stage doesn't make you anointed, the altar does. The stage doesn't make you more powerful, the altar does. If you crave recognition, you'll lose reverence. I hear the Lord. Number three, return to reverence. Create space for silence. Worship doesn't always need a sound. Sometimes it needs stillness so God can speak. Be still and know that I am God. Number four, reignite purity. Don't perform purity, pursue it. God smells motives before he hears melodies. God smells your heart before he hears melodies. Paul said in 2 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 15, we are to God the pleasing aroma of Christ. That means when your worship is real, heaven doesn't just hear you, heaven smells you. Because something inside you has been crushed, has been pressed and burned into fragrance. So maybe the question isn't, what's your sound? That's not the question. The question is, what's your scent? What's your fragrance? And is it pleasing to the Lord's nostrils? What's your scent? Somebody please type, what's your scent? Listen, family, the fragrance of worship isn't found in the perfect worship set or the latest sound. It's found in a yielded heart that says, God, you can have it all. You can have it all. You can have me. You can have this sound. You can have this song. You can have this gift. You can have it all. Let's make worship sacred again, not a genre, not a performance, but a sacrifice unto the Lord. Because when you live as the offering, he becomes the only audience. All right, guys, I got to go, but I had to get that off because the Lord was speaking. He is still speaking. When you live as the offering, he becomes the only audience. So, what is your scent? Hi.